I've been called a lot of things in my 72 years on this earth, but helpless was never one of them, until three armed punks in a dark parking lot decided that's exactly what I was. They thought my gray hair and walking cane made me an easy target. They had no idea what I'd done in Vietnam or what I was still capable of. If you want to hear how an old soldier handled three thugs half his age, hit that subscribe button and smash the like, because what happened next is something I'll never forget. My name is Robert, and I'm a retired Marine. I served 2 tours in Vietnam back in the late 60s and early 70s. I saw things over there that changed me forever, things I've spent 50 years trying to forget. When I came home, I made myself a promise. I'd never use violence again unless I absolutely had to. I became a high school teacher, raised my grandson Jake after his parents died, and lived a quiet life. I put that for decades, nobody knew what I was capable of. Not even Jake. That night started innocently enough. Jake had just landed his first real engineering job, and I wanted to celebrate with him. We went to Sullivan's Steakhouse, my favorite place in town. The kid deserved it. He'd worked his tail off to get that degree while working part-time to help with bills. Watching him talk about his future, seeing the excitement in his eyes, that's what being a grandfather is all about. Those are the moments that make everything worth it. We finished dinner around 9:30 and headed out to the parking lot. I'd parked in the back corner out of habit. I've always preferred the walk. Keeps the old legs working. As we crossed the dark asphalt, I noticed 3 men loitering near a beat-up van close to my car. My instincts kicked in immediately. The way they were positioned. "Grandpa, maybe we should go back inside," Jake whispered nervously. "Just stay calm, son," I said quietly, leaning a little harder on my cane. I wanted them to see exactly what they expected to see. A feeble old man who couldn't defend himself. The 3 men spread out as we got closer, blocking our path. The leader was a big guy, maybe 6'3", with a shaved head and a snake tattoo wrapping around his thick neck. To his left was a skinny tweaker with darting eyes and jittery movements. To his right stood a stocky guy with a crooked smirk and hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. "Evening, gentlemen," the big one said, his voice dripping with false politeness. "Nice night for a walk, ain't it?" "We don't want any trouble," Jake said, his voice tight with fear. "Just let us get to our car." "Trouble?" Snake Tattoo laughed. "Who said anything about trouble? We just need you to empty your pockets. Wallets, phones, watches, jewelry, everything you got." The skinny one pulled out a knife, holding it low and ready. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, old man. Just give us your stuff and nobody gets hurt." I watched them carefully, assessing. The tweaker was dangerous because he was unpredictable, probably high on something. The stocky one hadn't shown a weapon yet, but the way his right hand stayed in his jacket told me he had one. The leader was the real threat. He had size, strength, and just enough intelligence to be truly dangerous. But he also had the biggest weakness, arrogance. "Please," I said, making my voice shake. I hunched over my cane, making myself look smaller, weaker. "We'll give you whatever you want. Just don't hurt my grandson." "That's what I like to hear," Snake Tattoo grinned. "Smart old man. Now hand over." That's when Jake did something incredibly stupid and incredibly brave. He stepped in front of me. "Leave him alone." The stocky guy pulled out a gun, a cheap 9mm, and pointed it at Jake's chest. "Big mistake, hero." Everything slowed down in that moment. I saw the gun, saw the finger on the trigger, saw my grandson's life hanging by a thread. And something inside me that I'd kept locked away for 50 years came roaring back to life. The Marine woke up. "Jake, get down," I said, and my voice wasn't shaking anymore. I moved before any of them could react. My cane wasn't just a cane. It was solid oak, heavy, and I'd practiced with it for years just in case. I swung it hard into the stocky guy's wrist. The crack of breaking bone echoed across the parking lot, and the gun clattered to the pavement. He screamed and dropped to his knees, cradling his shattered wrist. The tweaker lunged at me with his knife, but he was sloppy, wild. I sidestepped, grabbed his extended arm, and used his own momentum to slam him face. His nose exploded in a spray of blood, and he went down hard, the knife skittering away across the asphalt. Snake Tattoo realized too late that he'd made a serious miscalculation. He threw a heavy punch at my head, but I'd been dodging punches since before he was born. I ducked under it, drove my cane into his solar plexus, and when he doubled over gasping, I brought my knee up into his face. He went down like a sack of cement. The whole thing took maybe 15 seconds. 3 armed men lay groaning on the ground, and I was barely breathing hard. The Marine had done his job. I picked up the gun, ejected the magazine, and cleared the chamber. Then I pulled out my phone and called 911. Jake was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. "Grandpa." "What? How did you?" "Different life, son," I said quietly, the adrenaline starting to fade. "Different life." The police arrived within minutes. The 3 thugs were arrested and charged with armed. Turns out they'd been terrorizing that parking lot for weeks, targeting older people. The detective told me I'd probably saved lives by stopping them. But here's what haunted me. The stocky guy, the one I'd disarmed first. His name was Marcus, and he was only 19 years old. When they searched the van, they found evidence that this wasn't just about robbery. They'd been planning something worse. They had duct tape, rope, zip ties. If I hadn't stopped them when I did, if I'd just handed over our wallets and walked away, Jake and I might not have made it home that night. On the drive home, Jake finally asked the question I'd been dreading. "Grandpa, what happened to you in Vietnam?" I was quiet for a long time. Then I told him, not everything, some things should stay buried, but enough. I told him about the ambushes, the close quarters combat, the times I'd had to choose between hesitating and surviving. I told him why I'd never talked about it, why I'd spent 50 years trying to be someone gentle and kind. Because I'd seen enough violence to last 10 lifetimes. "But tonight," Jake said softly, "you saved our lives." "Tonight I did what I had to do," I replied. "But I hope I never have to do it again." Jake reached over and squeezed my shoulder. "Thank you, Grandpa, for everything. For raising me, for protecting me, for being the man you are." That's when my eyes got a little misty. Because he understood. He understood that being strong doesn't mean looking for fights. It means being capable of protecting the people you love when there's no other choice. I'm 72 years old now. My knees ache, my back isn't what it used to be, and I need reading glasses. But on that night in the parking lot, I learned something important. The skills I learned in Vietnam, the warrior I used to be, he's still there when I need him. Not for revenge, not for pride, but those 3 thugs thought they'd found easy prey. Instead, they found out that you should never judge someone by their age or their walking cane. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the quiet old man who's seen real combat and knows exactly what he's capable of. I still teach Jake the same lessons I always have: kindness, patience, respect. But now he knows there's another lesson too. Being a good man doesn't mean being a weak man. It means having the strength to protect others, and the wisdom to only use it when you must.